warm welcome to Visionary Leaders. I'm your host Gitanjali, and today's guest has done what most business leaders would never dare. Some call him crazy, others call him a visionary. Shekhar Natarajan, holder of over 206 patents with 25 years in Fortune 500 leadership. He has driven major transformations at Walmart, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Target, and Disney, including scaling Walmart's grocery business from $30 million to $5 billion. At the height of that success, he walked away to build Orchestro.AI and a bold idea he calls angelic intelligence, AI built around human values. His claim is clear: ethical AI isn't just right, it's better business. So please welcome Shekhar Natarajan, founder and CEO of Orchestro.AI. Hello Shekhar, a very warm welcome. So let me ask you first, you worked with some of the largest corporations in the world, Walmart, Disney, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. You could have kept building inside those systems. Why did you feel the need to step out and create Orchestro.AI?
I was the second highest paid executive in American Eagle. If I had, and I'm 45, and if I retired like in the next 20 years, because I don't think I can ever stop working, I would have walked away with $250 million or more. Okay. And I could have probably taken 5 weeks of vacation and I could negotiate into 6. So I had a very nice, secured life. But the refugee in me did not like that. It felt that I was a prisoner of success without meaning in life. And I wanted to break out of it. So I wanted to break out of the fact that I was so secured. And instead of going after validation, I wanted to go after vision. So that is the same philosophy we are bringing to the way we are building our company. We are focused on the long term, not just on the short term. And we want to build a system that is multi-generational.
What do CEOs most misunderstand about their own role when it comes to AI adoption?
They think AI is the problem. Unfortunately, the leadership is a problem. So that is the common misconception that the CEOs have. They think that technology can solve all problems. They think technology is the problem when things don't work, but it's a leadership problem. The reason why it is a leadership problem is when a CEO goes out and basically is trying to talk to a vendor, the first question they ask is it going to solve my business problem? Like, what solution do you have? Instead, what they should be asking is, where do we want the company and how does the company look when we have deployed this artificial intelligence system? So what is the form factor of the company when we have deployed it? That should be the first question. So the condition of the company and where the company is going to be is rarely the first thought that comes. The second thing that the CEO has to really hone in on is they are signaling something. When they have chosen a vendor, when they basically say that we are going to optimize for efficiency, they have signaled that profits matter more than humanic decisions. They are signaling that basically humans are optional in the system. And that is a very bad trigger, because what AI does really well is to amplify those values. So AI is thinking the core value of the company is to profit maximize. So it is going to find every opportunity to profit maximize without having the relevant context. And sometimes, and many times, it is going to take the wrong decision.
So you hold over 206 patents, not because you're smarter than everyone else, but because you ask questions that nobody asks. What's the one question leaders aren't asking about their own businesses?
The business, as I told you, the business leaders are not asking the fundamental question of what is the role of the brand when technology takes over all of the business decisions. And should we be outsourcing these decisions in the first place? Because it's a very dangerous precedent. When when you're operating with a black box and you cannot explain the answers of the black box, you create challenges everywhere. So I actually envy all of the CEOs out there, because they are actually going to be sitting on hot seat all the time. Imagine today that there is a procurement decision, there is a HR decision. Let's say you're in like healthcare services, there is a patient care decision, there is a financial decision, and you began to use artificial intelligence in each of these different areas, and everything is a black box. There could be lawsuits coming from everywhere. It could be coming from the government because you have misrepresented yourself, or there could be an exposure on the customer. The customer thinks like willfully you have taken their privilege of access to healthcare, or it could come from payment systems where you've been compromised, or you have not paid on time, or simply like the system doesn't know how to address the anomalies. The HR decisions, there is bias implicit in the system. There was a classic case study from Amazon. Amazon, for the longest time, did not know why it was discriminating women in hiring decisions, because all of those rules that were generated and the AI systems that were generated to hire people were built by men. Okay? And so it forgot that there is something called women out there that we should be looking closely at. It did not look, so there was gender bias which was created. It was looking for basically discrimination, like, when people did not work because they had to take maternity leave, it assumed that gap was not something that is permissible. And so it kept making decisions about hiring people and were actually inclining more to hire men. And then they discovered after many, many years that bias was in the system, built into the system, because the people who were coding that did not look at their own blind spots. So this is going to be a landmine of lawsuits that is coming your way. And I'm not trying to like raise the alarm bells, because I lived through all of these challenges. Like, I work for large companies. One of the things that every large company tries to do is protect itself from all of the problems, either through legal protections, indemnities, and or some sort of insurance. So if you are deploying AI systems and if you're unsure of the safety protocols, I would start buying insurance right now. That is my advice. Because the cost of not having all of this and exposing yourself and the business could be a catastrophic risk. So many CEOs can lose their jobs. And I'm predicting this. Many CEOs are going to lose their jobs because they are reckless and unaware of the solutions which are deployed.
Shekhar, you left India in 2001 because opportunity was limited. Today you tell young Indians they're living in a moment you never had. So what has changed and what opportunity window could close if we don't act now?
I think in the next 5 years, there is a window of opportunity when India can lead the world of AI. If you take the AI that is built today, the artificial intelligence, and there's a misconception that like AI is a new phenomenon. AI has been around since 1956, okay? And generative AI is something that has come like in the last 2 to 3 years. The reasoning capabilities has just arrived. The models are coming out largely from US, and then there are models coming out from China. The AI structure or the structure of the US markets is all capitalism. Then you look at the models which are getting generated from China. Well, all of those models have a control architecture, the power to be able to understand people, their movements, and to be able to create a system where you're aware of and you're controlling the people. That is a Chinese model, right? So you have two extremes. One is like a power system, the other is the capitalistic system. But India has a unique opportunity to make inroads because all technology is to be in servitude of humans. And given our philosophy, our richness of civilization, and the fact that we were colonized, the opportunity lies in the fact that we know dharma, we know seva, We know the fact that basically like humans matter more. We have 1.4 billion people to take care of, right? We understand service as a concept. We are compassionate as a civilization. We are secular as a country. We like take in so many different considerations before we make decisions. So we have incredible amount of data that makes us very unique as a country. And so if we are able to maintain the data sovereignty and we are able to train the models, India can lead and can be the way of the future. Because I believe technology should be in service of humanity, and we are very well positioned for that. And we can be the beacon of light for the world.
So, Shekhar, you've raised $15 million on the belief that ethics can scale. So, how do you ensure that Orchestro.AI never becomes what it set out to challenge? And where is the clear financial upside of building kind AI?
Well, the faster AI is a short-term focus. The kinder AI is a longer-term strategy. My father was a very poor guy. He made 175 rupees a month, right? And we did not have anything. And we always took irrational decisions. Like, my father would give away money that should have been ours, but to others, to help others, right? He was a kind guy. My mother would do the same thing. But they left the world in a better place. So I want to believe that what people think is irrational and is kinder behavior is legacy creating. Short-term benefits are just that. It is short-term. And when you focus on short-term, you begin to make wrong choices. You focus on efficiency more than human decisions. You begin to lose customers. You begin to lose your employees. You begin to lose the shareholders. You are just one incident away from a major catastrophic disaster. So I think a kinder AI is much more human and much more longer term kind of a strategy. And that's what I firmly believe in. And that's what we are building towards. We are building towards a legacy that lasts beyond my lifetime.
You work with the biggest companies in the world. From where you sit, building AI that touches global supply chains, what is the quiet danger people don't see coming?
You take anyone, take like Google, take like Meta, right? Or like Uber. They're all extracting rent by bringing two parties together. And both these parties are like powerless parties, pretty much. Right? Neither the consumer has power, nor basically the supplier has the power. And they're bringing two powerless structures and they're making money and they're extracting rent. And so if I'm a driver who has not made enough money, like Uber will not pay me more. It will actually pay me less because it knows that I don't have a job. Okay. If I'm like, Airbnb and like, my house is not getting rented out like very frequently, they know that I can extract more rent and they will actually suppress my rates. So if I know that if I'm a consumer and I want like to take that ride, urgently, they will jack up the prices. It's an extraction philosophy. So every company that is going to believe in like extracting rent out of the system. So all of these systems and all of these companies are bound to be unsuccessful in the future because the world is unforgiving. And when we continue to perpetuate this, you're going to always create a society which is very, very divided. That is what is happening to the world today. Globalization, as everyone is talking about make in India again, make in America again, make in France again, make in China again, make in Brazil again. Why? Because we outsourced a lot of our capabilities outside and everyone feels cheated that they are not being able to create the employment locally. So there is like, for everything which has happened in the world, there is a backlash which is happening. So society is very unforgiving. And they think they are being exploited. And at some point in time, there is going to be an uprising. Right? And so we have to be very careful as corporate citizens and or as individuals to not to basically swing the pendulum so far that it goes out of balance. So having a configurable capability where like, you're finding the balance of humanic decisions and enterprise decisions, like efficiency decisions. And so it's a combination of effectiveness and efficiency at the same time. that is going to be a longer strategy, long-term strategy that is going to make companies successful. Every company that does not follow this and uses exploitive and extraction systems are going to fail in the future.
Shekhar, every founder faces the tension between safety and conviction. You chose conviction. How should leaders calculate risk when building something the market doesn't yet understand?
What I do firmly believe is technology that is being recklessly deployed is going to be a disaster. Look at Google, what Google did recently. Google rolled out Nano Banana. Okay. As soon as Nano Banana came, everyone started enjoying it. They started putting their pictures and they started creating such picture perfect images of themselves that you would assume that it was so real to be real. And you know what the next thing which happened with it? Fraud. Deepfake. So people had one broken egg, and I've seen this, because that is the time when my mother passed away too, when Nano Banana Pro came out. And people were taking images of one broken egg and were sending Swiggy that 10 eggs were broken, and they were claiming for 10 broken eggs. They were sending insurance claims on things that they never had. They were actually writing doctor's letters and sending it to their HR department, because it was so easy and so real to create images which looked almost picture perfect. So if you create systems and do it recklessly, because you're actually trying to prove that you are faster and you can come out with better models, and you're trying to prove to the world that you have a better model, you want to create reckless behavior. Fast is not the answer. Why are we in so much of a hurry? Recently did a survey, and one of the things we actually picked up, Gitanjali, is that we asked people what would you do if you live for 300 years? Because people are saying AI is going so fast that your life expectancy is going to go many folds up. And what people told me was counterintuitive. They never wanted to live 300 years. Most of the people wanted to end their life because the duration of life did not matter, the quality of life mattered to them. So, but we are in such a hurry to create technology that solves all these problems. And that, I feel, is a reckless behavior. We don't need to be so fast. We can be slow, we can be judicious, and we can be thoughtful about the way we actually go about things.
Business leaders obsess over quarterly earnings. You talk about 1,000-year time frames. So show me a real business decision where current AI chooses short-term profit and angelic intelligence chooses long-term value.
Well, long-term always makes money. What are the most enduring companies? You and I were talking about it. Nestle, you mentioned, right? When Maggie basically hit a snag, they ran an ad, a PR ad, showing the kid that basically just pronounced that India got independence. So that company existed even before India had independence, to your point. So the longevity of the brands is because of the fact that they built trust in the system. You don't build trust in the system if you're short-term focused. Because in a short-term focused company, you're always trying to maximize profits at the expense of the customers. And that is exploitation. And people pick up on that very quickly. So you see the life cycle of the businesses is much more shorter these days than it used to be in the past. Because there has been the capitalistic mentality that has almost gotten promoted into every system, despite whichever country it is, to focus on profits more and not focus on the brand building. And so that is actually causing the time to be much more shorter, and new entrants are coming and disrupting all these businesses because they haven't built long-term trust in the system. So long-term effectiveness of businesses is always the best way to win. That creates the longest shareholder value, not the profits in the short term. And as soon as people start realizing that and stop thinking that the profits in the quarter is more important, and start kind of planning for the systems decades into the future, and build it in a long-term sustainable way, that is going to create a lot of value.
So Shekhar, final business question. Your mother couldn't even read English. Your father made 175 rupees a month. But you've built billion-dollar businesses. What's that one lesson every entrepreneur should remember?
The best lesson that I learned is failure kind of builds up your character, because it gives you grit, it gives you perseverance, it gives you the ability to be resourceful, all of that. And it like conditions your mind to never give up. But success creates choices, and that exposes your true value system. When success hits you, you're presented with a lot of opportunities to do a lot of crazy things. And that is the time when you shouldn't lose your character. So for me, like, people assume poverty is equal to failure, that you belong to a failed system. And I have, like, for all those people, I want to tell only one thing: believe in yourself, have the best intention, work your ass off, right? These are the only three things that matter the most. And if you're able to do all of that, it doesn't matter if you like have language proficiency. It doesn't matter if you have gone to like Ivy League school or not. It doesn't matter like, if you basically like, belong to a slum or not. It doesn't make a difference like, what your father was or where your mother was and all of those things. If you've conditioned your mind, you will get the escape velocity. So use that as a weapon. Use the resourcefulness as a weapon. Use the jugaad as a weapon. Use basically your grit as a weapon. Use the ability to know that you living in that context and having like, nothing to lose is a weapon. Because end of the day, what is the worst which is going to happen? You try to project yourself into the future. You get to 100 points, great. If you get to 70 points, it's great. If you get to 0 points, it's still great. Because you were at 0 and you're still at 0. What did you have to lose in all of this? So the more you liberate your mind and come to peace with the fact that like, poverty is not something that you should be scared of. You should be proud of it. And try to use that as a weapon and propel yourself. I think that is what I would like everyone to know.
Well, Shekhar, this wasn't a conversation about technology. It was about memory, responsibility, and the courage to design systems that remember why humans matter. But it was a pleasure having you on the show with us.